when an average customer goes to find a car shipping business, it's a crapshoot.
It is.
I guess it's whoever, and oftentimes it's whoever paid the most to get the highest Google ranking.
All right, today on Facts Not Feelings, we are uncovering the hidden truths of Autologistics with Jay Wertzberger, founder of ATI Auto Business. And also, if you don't already know him, check out his podcast and YouTube channel because it's awesome and incredibly good information. We're going to be discovering why cutting costs could be the biggest mistake in your auto business strategy. Jay, I'm so excited to have you in right now. I know I was on your show.
Thank you.
And then the other one I couldn't get on, but I'm very excited to have you on the show here and to dive into this topic today.
Well, thanks for having me. So ATI Auto Business is my YouTube channel. You've been a guest. And so I talk about, it's an automotive business channel. And I have roots from transportation and logistics. So I talk car shipping, auto transport. There'll be folks that'll say, well, I don't really do anything with car shipping. Skip it. Well, what I say in automotive, listen, everything is connected from fixed ops, sales, whether you're in inventory acquisition at the auction or you're selling, is it wholesale, is it retail, new or used, you're going to hit car delivery, car shipping at one point in the transaction. So because I feel that way, I feel strongly about it now. I'm in my 7th year on my channel. And and I'm a media guy too. Like Brooke, you're really into media, right?
A little bit, just a little bit, yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of a club. Now everyone's welcome to join it, as we see more podcasts and whatnot all the time. But do you eat, sleep, and breathe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brooke, I know you do. I certainly do. And so my love of media, my interest in automotive and car shipping caused me to create ATI Auto Business. It used to be called Auto Transport Intel. And yeah, so one of the things I stand for is how expensive it is to ship a car. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's the most expensive thing ever, but it's not cheap. And we are a society that's gotten used to cheap shipping and this idea that technology will lower the cost of shipping. And that might be true for some of the things you purchase on Amazon. I don't know if they give great deals on DoorDash. But when you ship a car, this is your car.
Don't cheap out, please.
And if you go with the cheapest guy, you will pay for it in the long run. Almost every time. Either I don't know where the car is, gosh knows what condition it is. You may be the unlucky one that gets a carrier without proper insurance.
Been there, but without a car. But yes,
that is out there. There's a lot of that. But again, I don't drive a truck. I don't load cars. I don't ship cars. I don't even work here. I just make a channel about it all because I know how do I know this? Okay, so I used to be a dispatcher. For a while. I was in between gigs and I was working for car haulers to help them book loads and stay loaded. It sounded interesting. It is interesting. It's also painful. It's very painful to work with carriers from owner operators up to 9 cars, up to businesses. You know, every business out there that ships cars and has trucks and drivers has to keep their trucks loaded. And the thing is now in today's world, especially after COVID, many people are buying individual units across the country, onesies, twosies at a time. But a 9-car guy doesn't want onesies and twosies. He wants 9 cars, 1 pick, 1 drop. So somebody like me was on the phone trying to book loads and talk to people and just making sure that 1 car is actually ready for pickup. It's a lot of work. It's way more work than it should be. Yes. The DoorDash guy doesn't have to call the kitchen and make sure they got the right noodles or that they're warm or that, you don't have to do any of that in many forms of logistics. Amazon doesn't double check with you to make sure you really meant to order that or did you goof up and if there is a problem, they just fix it. Well, logistics isn't that easy.
If only.
Yeah. So, and we've actually talked a lot about tracking and GPS. I know, see, like I kind of ran away with it. I haven't even let you really ask me a question. I mean, except for that
Everyone
first
knows
one.
what you do now, so that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So they're like, ATI, what the hell is ATI?
Right.
Now you know. Now you know.
Right. You're going to get more than you asked for.
I was like, oh, on second thought, I think the Wi-Fi just died. I don't.
That's
have
right.
it.
That's that 2-hour show guy. Oh, man. Actually, I just
Son of a-
shortened my show, too. I know. Are we already halfway through the interview? Probably.
Yeah, but probably at this point, yeah. No, it's all
Yeah.
good.
All right, good.
Well, let's start with I'll say start, but let's go into for those who are thinking, okay, Autologistics, okay, it has obviously evolved a little since it's horse and buggy, or I would love to put in an Amazon Prime and get it there in 2 days or overnight. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But from your mind and your standpoint, particularly focus on the cost versus quality debate, I'm just going to take that one because you talked about a little bit in the beginning, but too often, and I will tell my own story of when I moved to Chicago, I had a cheap option, a medium option, and the highest option.
Yeah.
I went the medium option. I was like, okay,
it's good.
Let's just say I lived on an air mattress, 2 pairs of running shoes, pair of heels, a pair of pants, a shirt, running shorts, and a tank top. That was it. And my stuff didn't show up for 3 months. 3 months. Couldn't find it. Now, that's not shipping a car, but that is shipping all my shit out to Chicago.
That was moving,
I did everything. And it was every time he called, I would get 2 of us would be on the phone. And one person would get, oh, it's in Texas. Your stuff's in Texas. The other person, oh, it's in Florida. I go, you guys know where the hell my stuff is, do you? Like, it's just a nightmare from the
At least they got the state. Who knows?
Oh,
maybe.
God, it's
right.
So I prepped that to say when you're looking at that cost versus quality debate, there's a lot of it, and people, as you say, cheap out. And so I'm just gonna let you run with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm thinking many things. One is the type of product that's being shipped. I've also thought about airlines before. You know, when we book a flight, we're pretty confident that we can get a really cheap rate and everything's going to be fine. But the airlines, you know, that is, I think one of the fallacies is that we compare types of shipping and just assume all shipping is equal or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's just not. It really depends on the type of industry. In auto transport, so I'll say this. Here's a snoozer. Prior to 1980, the way vehicle delivery happened was totally different from what is now. Mm-hmm. And we went through this period of deregulation. So prior to 1980, it was extremely regulated. And maybe that was good because now, after 1980, we're 23 years post regulation. Everything's been deregulated. And now it is a free-for-all, and you don't know what you're going to get. And so the only way to defend yourself against the whatever is to gauge using pricing. You're hoping that, well, if I pay more, I'll get better service. You don't even know that.
You know it.
Not really. All right. So, I mean, I've painted a pretty brutal picture. And one of the other reasons is there are thousands of companies vying for your business. Before 1980 and regulation, every delivery business had to be approved by an organization called the ICC. Okay. Now, no. It can be whoever. Joe Bob's brother Billy Bob, and then now his cousin wants to get in on it, and there's YouTube videos saying how great this is. And how many people own a truck and are like, yeah, I can just make extra money with my truck. And I understand that, you know, American dream and entrepreneurism, etc. But once you get out there, once you get in the elements and go to actually move this thing, everything switches. It's like Inception. The world flips over and everything goes wrong. Yeah. And now, you know, you've committed to move this vehicle. You might have even said something crazy like, I'll meet you at the airport. And that's so as a consumer, don't think you can meet anybody at an airport. None of that stuff. Don't time your rental car within a few hours of delivery. Don't do any of that stuff.
No.
You can't. Now, is anybody saying that? Well, I am. And sometimes shippers find me. Shippers are lucky to find ATI Auto Business because they're going to hear this stuff. But when an average customer goes to find a car shipping business, it's a crapshoot.
It is.
I guess it's whoever, and oftentimes it's whoever paid the most to get the highest Google ranking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree so much. As you're talking about this, I don't know if we had this discussion already. I've broken and torn about everything in my body, ruptured it, more surgery doesn't count. And there are certain things, okay, I tore something at wrist. To me, I broke a bone. It's not that big of a deal. Now, the difference is if you have something wrong with, I have every 6 months, I fly back to Salt Lake. Now, granted, I live in Chicago, like incredible. I have teams of doctors here at this point, which is sad to say, but I do. But when it comes to my eyes, the surgeon that did my eyes, he is like the best of the best.
Your eyes look great.
Well, thank you. It's I can see
an
that's all that
amazing
matters.
job.
Well, you should have seen it before, I guess. So, but with the reason I fly back every 6 months, is it cheap? No, I got to book an airfare. I got to get hotels, the rental car, all the incidentals, food, all the travel and expenses, right? The T&E, of course. Now, I could try to find someone here, and I try to do that. It's not the same. So to me, I know if it's like eyes, brain, heart, something that's like vital to everything. Orthopedic, yeah, they're great, but am I going to fly every 6 months on there? So I go to the whole auto transport thing. If you cheap out, what is going to happen to you? Like, it is just so crucial that you don't go with the lowest and do your research to understand, hey, is this good? Is it bad? Because you may end up with someone that probably should be banned from the board and not be doing it anymore. So I say that with going in the next question here of what are some common misconceptions about saving costs in auto logistics?
We assume that there's a truck nearby with a space empty ready to pick up our car. Now, I don't know why we do that, but we do it. And I think that's been tapped into where people are led to believe that's true. That makes no sense. Why would there be a truck nearby with an empty space ready to pick up our car right at the time where we decided we wanted car shipping? How is it that we're that gullible? Like, because we just want something so bad that we'll just believe that like that guy with an empty spot. I mean, depending on what, okay, think about where you are. Let's do it this way. Here's another one. I don't think people think of, okay, ask yourself, where am I now and where do I want my car to go? If the answer was something like LA to Atlanta, like metro to metro, okay, well, that's going to be a competitive route and we might be able to save money on a competitive route, but is it still a truck waiting to fill a spot with my car? Also, what kind of car do I have? Like, do I have a standard Honda Civic or did I buy the Texas Ranger XLT package with a lifted, the truck nuts and the lights and because if you have all that stuff, you're gonna not be picked up right away. Also, are you looking for pickup today, tomorrow? So I think as consumers, we don't think in terms of what could make my car shipping more complicated. And what we should do is ask ourselves that first. When we order DoorDash, that guy probably runs that route, a few times a day or whatever. And the Uber and the airport and the hotel. So we're conditioned to think these are all regular routes and Uber guys ready to go. But car delivery doesn't really work that way. And also, a lot of what I've said, I've talked as a private individual, which they call a POV move. Privately owned vehicle, POV. POV move is residence to residence or maybe job to residence. But if this is a corporate move or I'm trying to get it from an auction, again, I got to add all the things that could make this complicated. That should literally be when you click a button to ship your car, screen one should say, what will make this transportation complicated?
Yeah. Yeah. And
then and then we'll start adding money because
right.
That's
this is going to cost you more or less. That's what it's going to say.
Now,
right?
Somebody will tell you, here's what happens. And if you're not careful, this will happen. If you don't take those things into consideration now, and you just click a button like you're booking a cheap flight, later on, you're going to get a phone call, and everything I just mentioned is going to get discussed.
Or changed.
And it's going to cost double. Do you want to pay now in a reasonable fashion for the things that make your transportation complicated, or you don't want to have do you want to have a phone call at midnight in 2 weeks when it was already supposed to be delivered and it hasn't been picked up, and now it's going to cost double? It's your choice.
Yeah. So
it's a
as
fun
we're talking
channel.
about that, I'm thinking like, okay, we all know that because of cost savings and we want to cut corners. I'm like, all right, first off, if you can afford the Ferrari, you can afford to ship it. Let's just
Oh
say
my,
that.
don't get me started.
Yeah, so I'm going to tee this up for you because I figured that you've got quite a few like real world examples of ones that you might actually be able to say, of those of like saying, well, does cutting corners really impact service quality? I mean, it's just a little corner, a little piece of the corner I'm cutting off. Like, does it really impact the service quality? Now, I know the answer to this, but I'm curious if you want, I'm curious. I know you want to jump on this one. So have at this. And if you've got any examples, love to hear them.
There's a couple transportation companies that specialize in enclosed transport, have great equipment, and they're known as the best. And car collector auctions will always use those kinds of companies because they know. Mm-hmm. But an individual car collector or somebody who, I don't know why you're, and I'm going to get some of these models wrong, like a really nice McLaren or a Rolls-Royce Ghost. I don't own any high-end cars because I run a YouTube channel. Okay.
With a lot of followers.
Right. So true, but none of them have bought me a McLaren or a Rolls-Royce Ghost. And when I've seen these vehicles, many types of high-end vehicles, and I've even Googled, what is this vehicle's value? Because I can't believe it was posted for open transport for like, I don't know, $500.
There's no way.
Like, why would you post what if you can afford a Rolls-Royce Ghost or a McLaren, pay to have that thing shipped and closed, pay the few grand or whatever they're telling you it's going to cost.
It's worth it.
Because if you're not doing it, all I think of is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? And the car goes out the window.
What's going through my head right now.
That is what's going to happen. There are TikTok videos of that crap happening where this thing is up on an upper deck and the guy's new or whatever trying to lower it, and then the damn thing falls off the back and like bangs down the road and I mean rips off the why would you do that? Why? That makes no sense at all.
I don't know why.
It's still happening right now.
That's like anytime I live in Chicago, so anytime I go to valet my car, and I always have this hesitancy because all I can see is Ferris Bueller, like just full out.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, okay,
it is
convenience of sitting.
And that was a Ferrari, I believe, right?
It was a Ferrari, yes.
It was a Ferrari.
And I go, if I could park on the street, but it's going to take a little bit longer to find a spot. They did a study, I think it was last year, that Chicago is the most expensive when it comes to parking. It takes the longest time to find a parking spot.
Lots of bridges. So
it's just there's not enough parking, and the parking is like ridiculous expensive. So I go, I can spend.
But car haulers are like, hey man, there's too many bridges. I'm not going in there. Listen to the guy, right? Don't argue with him.
All you need is that truck getting stuck under the underpass. So yeah,
it happens. It's happening right now somewhere.
It had to happen.
These guys hit bridges all the time. How did that happen? That's why they make things called height sticks. Did you use the height stick?
It sounds so simple, though, Jay. You're making it sound very simple here.
I had no idea that I'd be able to make a channel about this.
I was shocked. Like, I didn't know who you guys
idea.
were, and you asked me to come on the show. I was like, I had to Google. I'm like, who the hell are these people? I don't know who they are.
Right.
I was like,
why?
Obviously, a lot of people see massive value in this because whether it's a dealership or your person, whatever it is you're trying to ship, it's the wild west out there. So I want to ask then, how does the investment of logistics link to customer satisfaction in our industry? Because is there any link to it?
So that's I thought that was an interesting question. I don't know. I'll find the answer if I talk enough. That's how life works. But I guess it's the investment is don't cheap out. Don't assume it's free. Don't assume it's cheap. Don't assume it's easy. I know none of that's fun, but that's really what I do is I deal in bad news. And if just hearing some of the bad news and saying, okay, I got it. Jay, I'm in pain just listening to you. I got it. Great. Then I've accomplished my goal, is to put you in a headlock before you get into car shipping.
Yes.
And now you're ready. Believe me.
So I can only speak from my experience of having to have stuff like, once again, moving, as I've moved a lot, is there was no, hey, how was it for you? Well, first up, took you 3 months to get my shit. That's how it was for me. And it was, I posted because I couldn't get any answers. So for me, the only way for me to let people know, and I'm very much against blasting people on social media, because that's a business. It has to be really, really, really bad for me to do that. And I could go on and on about this stuff. One, it took 3 months to get to us, get to me, and then they lost my passport, a bunch of other stuff. So it cost me significant money. And all that to be said, so I put stuff online just like, hey, people, beware of this company. And it was a very well-known company. Beware of this company. This would happen, blah, blah. 2 years later, oh, no, not even 5 years later, I get a response on Yelp saying that I'm a liar.
Yes. No, that's
the check that you guys, after all of a sudden does thousands of dollars to get my stuff shipped out. You guys didn't reimburse me after it took me finally blasting you to be like, oh, here's $300. I'm like, but it cost me like $3,000 to ship my stuff. So to me, I don't know. Is there any type of, are there reviews? Is there some type of, hey, this company is really good, other than go ask Jay? I mean, is there a way to vet these companies?
So it's being worked on, not by me. That's another thing too. I'm more of a referee.
Yeah.
I don't build software, and and I agree with you. I don't want to blast anybody online. I don't want to be blasted. I mean, this is a world that we live in. It's a community. It's a society. And so there isn't really, but people leave each other reviews. Have you ever heard of Central Dispatch? Have you heard of that?
Yep.
Okay. Most people have heard of Central Dispatch, and they have a review system. Well, what's interesting is even Central Dispatch is trying to change the review system because it's gnarly. The review system in auto transport, there's also, I think, a private site, Auto Transport Reviews, and then there's Google and Yelp and all that stuff. Read reviews. I mean, I do it when I buy a product. How do we do it? We read a few reviews and we go, kind of take an average.
Yeah.
Well,
they pay off, and which ones are real. So
exactly. But I think the best review is to call somebody. See if you can get them on the phone.
Yeah.
I know that's old school. There's going to be a Gen X car shipper that's like, I'm not calling somebody. Well, that's fine. I'm not saying you have to. But the phone is a great way, just talking to somebody. If they make you feel like, God, that can't be true, don't do it.
Yeah.
If they make you feel like, use your intuition. Think of it like dating, right?
Yes.
Because you're going to be tied to this person or company or whatever the situation is. And if early on, I'll tell you what, this one I don't know how to fix. I get told about contracts. Like I had a guy contact me. Jay, I'm in a contract, but I want to cancel. What should I do? And I ended up getting him and one of his close, smart friends on the phone with the broker and having a heart-to-heart conversation.
Oh.
And it was really weird. It was weird. But essentially, the situation turned out to be the broker on the phone felt bad, but their owner wouldn't let him out of the contract. And at that point, I had to say to the guy on the phone, let's go back to the origin of this transaction. At any time, did you think that, did you think you were getting a great deal, or was there this or that? And I thought I was getting a pretty good deal. What was the rate? Tell me the mileage. And I got out the calculator. I'm like, you know what? That was unrealistic from day one. So you're trapped now. You took a gamble on something unrealistic. You're trapped. You have to make a decision. Either cut your losses or drive it yourself. And so, but this doesn't out. Is there going to be a review that says cut your losses? I wish I had a better answer.
Maybe. I mean, you never know in today's age. I mean, the stuff that I see come through reviews, I'm like, holy, I would never say that.
But
Both customer and business. I'm like, what is going on here?
I think essentially in car shipping, don't wait till the last minute.
No.
There are some things where we can wait. And there's some things we don't wait on, right? You don't try on a tux the day of the wedding.
Yes.
And you don't do that. I've never used that analogy before, but you don't do that in car shipping.
No.
Start a couple weeks, 3 weeks. Time is going to fly. You're not going to get phone calls back. And then the person you really wanted to go with, they were so busy they didn't call you immediately. Don't call whoever gets back to you first.
Yes. Amen. So we're diving deep into the auto industry in today's episode. It is clear how vital it is to have a skilled team. That's where Larry J. Feldman and Career Changers USA come in. With over 30 years in the business, Larry specializes in sourcing top talent from general managers to sales associates across the United States and even Canada. He is a known wizard in finding skilled auto technicians and comes highly endorsed by industry leaders, even myself. His training programs are tailored for everyone, from new hires to managers, ensuring not just skill, but also motivation. If you're looking to elevate your auto business, reach out to Larry at Career Changers USA. And for more invaluable insight, don't miss the Lethal Sales podcast, co-hosted by Larry every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Career Changers USA, where talent meets opportunity and expertise drives success. All right, so we're both, in doing the media thing, and technology helps us a lot. But when it comes to in transport, how has it changed the landscape? Because it's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, so talk about this.
Well, I'm going to go back to the regulation thing too. Prior to 1980, think of the technology and the whatever, really not much. Mm. After 1980, after deregulation, it's the companies that capitalized on technology that have gotten really good at getting the customer.
Yeah.
Those companies oftentimes have nothing to do with the equipment or the actual driver. So technology can actually help lead you down the wrong road because the physical carrier that's taking on all the expense, they may not be very technologically oriented. And as a consumer in 2023, we're expecting real high tech.
Yeah, I want that pizza, the Domino's tracker to know where my shit is all the time.
And so you could get tricked by the desire for high tech.
Interesting.
Yeah. However, I believe in technology. I love software. And technology is how we communicate and expedite and things like that. Just don't assume higher tech means better service.
Yeah.
It's not how car shipping works.
Well, it's like you just go in the regular, just auto industry in general. Like I love our industry. It's fantastic. I also know there's so much software out there. There's so much tech out there. It's only as good as your people and process. So if your people and process, it doesn't actually enhance them because they are still on flip phones or they're using walkie-talkies.
That's an awesome point.
Carrier
people and process.
So that product, whatever you're looking at, has got to enhance the people and process before you ever look at adding another piece of software. So yeah, it can be great. I mean, if I hear digital retailing one more time, it's like, great, but how many dealers have actually pulled out of that because, it's not really all that great. We're losing money on it. Well, you're not really losing money on it, but they want to control more. And so why even say you have that whatever if you're not even going to use it? Like that's, so as I listen to you, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just par for the course. So.
Right. Well, so yeah, because then you can say, well, I'm texting, I booked him, he's ready to go, he's around the corner. You got tricked by technology.
Yep. And half the at least, and you'll obviously know this answer to this, but I know when you're shipping other things, it's, well, you ordered this and you want it on this date, but we're going to change the pickup date. We're going to change this and possibly the drop-off date. In addition, we talked about the Metro, you're actually over here and we're not going to get to that until ever. So we're just going to put everything together and then maybe pick it up whenever we feel like it. And then
that's what happens.
It's so frustrating.
That is what happens. We're going to pick it up. We're going to pick it up when we're ready.
You want it. Yes.
That is auto transport.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. And then going back to that's exactly what happened. Like I had not hung up the phone, and it was probably 30 seconds later, I get a call, and I was traveling about pretty much 3 to 4 weeks out of the month. So I was never home. And they're like, oh, we actually need to change it this day. I go, I'm not even in the state at that time. Like, not even the state. So my older brother had to help this guy that shows up and full out. He goes, Brooke, he had to be 75, 80 years old. There's no way he could have done any of this. Luckily, I'd packed everything beforehand, because I knew I was going to be gone for the next month. And my brother had to put everything in the truck. I go, what are we paying you for?
Wow.
Like, it makes, so as I'm seeing all this, I'm like, all I can envision is someone like cheaping out on shipping and be like, oh yeah, so you actually need to load your car onto this little trailer that we have, and good luck with that. Hope you don't ruin it. Like,
Man.
I don't know if they actually did or not, but that's like what I'm envisioning right now of my PTSD from my experience.
Okay. Well, here's the analogy is more common than not, a driver will want to drop off in the middle of the night.
Yes.
And here's why. Because that driver needs to keep going. And they can't stop. Here they are. Let's say they're in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay.
But they've really got to be in Atlanta when the dealership opens. Well, they can probably do it if they drop off your car in Shreveport in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. And they have to. If they don't do that, that's going to cause so many other problems. Mm-hmm. So, the thing is, and I don't know how we increase our flexibility in the logistics of the moving and the auto transport. We just have to be ready for potentially what we would hate the most. And that is getting your car and unloading the lift gate at 1 a.m. in the middle of the night in Shreveport. But that could be what happens.
Yeah.
It could be.
I mean,
especially if we got the cheapest rate.
Oh, yeah. And even with myself, it was once we finally decided, like, okay, I still travel about 3 weeks in the month. And I had taken off work. So like, okay, we promised we're showing up today. So I would take the day off work, had to use, PTO to take off the day of work.
Yeah.
They never showed up. Oh. And then it happened. That happened 3 times. And then the 4th time I'm in New Mexico, my stuff shows up and they're like, hey, we're here. I'm like, I'm not even in the state. Like I'm in New Mexico. I live in Chicago and I live in a high rise. So there's no way that you can even get into the building. Like there's no way. Luckily I had Chris he's like, hey, I'll take care of this. But if he hadn't been there, I would have lost it could have been another 3-6 months before I got my stuff. Wow. So as you're talking, I was just having so much.
Wow. And you had a really crazy experience.
Yeah,
I can't say that's the norm.
No,
right?
it's not. But I just
Jeez.
Now anytime I move, I'm like, okay, we use the same company it's going to be awesome. We know they're great, and we just follow them so we know where it's going. But
yeah,
and I definitely
there you go. Relationships. That's what we always end up coming back to. And you probably know somebody, don't you, that you can talk to. Right.
Yeah. Well, I asked some friends. I just go, hey, we've had some horrible experience with moving, and so I go, who do you recommend? They recommended this company, and they are nowhere the cheapest. And there's a reason for it. They are damn good at what they do. It's all white glove service. It is worth every freaking cent because your stuff is taken care of. Like they're phenomenal. They're so great, and I will always pay the extra money to use them anytime I move because they're that good. And that is like, wow. As we talk about all this, I just keep going back to, I'm like, don't cheap out. Like, I cannot stress enough. Don't cheap out. You
just made me think of this too. And this is one of the things you can't do anything about is that, I can think of a couple companies that are amazing at the marketing and the sales and everything else. But when the order goes into the back room, into the operations, I don't know who's running that department. That place needs to be cleared out. Fire everybody. So, how do you control that? How do you fix a broken operations department in the back of what would otherwise be this amazing store? Mm-hmm. You can't. You have no control over that. So, and the reason it's like that is because somehow if the revenue looks good on paper and the shareholders are happy, they ain't going to fire the operations department no matter how bad they are.
Nope. People in process.
I don't know how you fix that.
It's how do you fix stupid? Just
I don't know. I try every week.
Oh man, if only we could find a way. I think we'd be like gazillionaires at this point.
But what we've done is any car shippers. If you've listened to this, if you've watched this, you're gonna come away with expecting something different from an Uber Eats, Amazon booking a flight experience. This is a one of a kind, difficult moment. Be ready to be flexible, pay a little extra, and the moment you know there's BS, get out because there's BS.
And pretty early on, like it's
yeah.
Just talk to them. And please pick up the phone and talk. Don't just text. Pick up the phone and talk. You mentioned this.
Yeah, call somebody.
It's so important to hear
before you sign a contract. Talk to people that you think you can believe.
Yeah.
And if you think you can't, you go to ATI Auto Business on YouTube, and I'll help you do
it. Yes, and he will 100% on that one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's other primary.
Oh, I got something I can tell you about.
Talk.
Is this okay? So one of the things that I do, not only do I have the channel and the content, but now I do consulting, and I also speak. A used car week, which was a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Well, it's November, so and there's trade shows throughout the year, and they repeat, and you see a lot of the same folks, different shows, different flavors, different folks. And at Used Car Week, I spoke on 2 panels and had a lot of one-on-one coffee style meetings with folks that, there's a lot of businesses in automotive that touch transportation, whether they're vendors or they have partners, you name it, verticals. So that's one of the other things that I do a lot of is I now participate in the ecosystem as somebody who can speak truth because I don't actually move cars. And that is actually one of the things that I really like doing that. I'm like an optimistic pessimist. But if you work in logistics, you have to be somewhat pessimistic because that's
I call it more of a
reality.
Realist. There's a big difference.
Realist. Thank you.
You're
realist.
Like that's something the other day. Like you're being really negative. I was like, no, I'm actually just being very real with the situation of what's happening. I'm a very upbeat, positive, happy-go-lucky person. When it comes to business, I'm going to zone in real quickly and understand. Yeah, this is just a bunch of fluff that you're saying, and none of it's actually going to happen. So it is so true to be leery and. So I'm just going to call you a realist more than anything else.
But I must be pessimistic to even say pessimism over realism. So, but that's good. I like that. I appreciate that. So you're more of an optimist.
Yeah, it depends.
But there's a philosophy to the way you do business.
Yeah.
I mean, right? This is one of the things about automotive is that, again, as a marketing guy, content, video, consulting, is that, when it comes to sales, we want to say the things you want to hear. But there's somewhere in the BDC or operations where somebody is in a headlock, losing sleep over a problem, and that's the reality. It's a complicated industry, and you just have to be a little bit flexible.
I could not say it better myself. I'm hoping that anyone that's listening right now understands that, one, like you said, that they're looking at it a little bit differently and understanding that it's not like you're thinking it's going to be rainbows and butterflies, but it's really not going to be that. Don't cheap out. Please do not cheap out. Cannot stress that enough. I think you guys have all got this at this point. But, Jay, it is that point of the show where we are jumping in to the lightning round with you. So, watching. You can see his link right here. It's going to link to everything Jay and ATI.
Okay.
Now, as you're watching, after you've been watching, go check them out. But for those that are listening, how can they find you and how can they
and ask me that. Do you say, how can you find me? Is that what you said?
How can the audience find you, get in touch with you?
All right. So you go to, on YouTube, ATI Auto Business. And ATI stands for Auto Transport Intel. So you can type in Auto Transport Intel, ATI Auto Business, Auto Transport, car shipping, and that's how you'll find me. I'm on YouTube. Now I have the website. You can email me, which I've got the old email, the autotransportintel@gmail.com. Listen, I spend my time making content, not updating my Gmail server. So you can email me. I have a phone number. The phone, it'll ring and I don't answer it. You'll go to voicemail because I don't ship cars. 816-979-1775. 816-979-1775. ATI Auto Business, autotransportintel@gmail.com.
Love it. And I think almost all of that is in the link here. And once, obviously, there's going to be a little QR code you can scan it, go check them out. If you have any questions about logistics, definitely check them out. But okay, let's go with now. Name of the show is Facts, Not Feelings. So it can be in your personal life or it can be in your business life, doesn't matter, either or. But how do you distinguish facts from feelings?
Well, I guess research. I think we all do more research than we even realize. I've heard the statistic that when people research car shopping, it's hours, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I double check. Even, when I read a news headline, I guess the feelings, I would skip it if I think, well, this is all just speculation. I like the word speculation because it kind of sums it up. If I'm completely speculating or I think somebody else is completely speculating, that's not what I'm into. I'm into some facts. Give me some facts. Let me do some research. So I don't know. Facts are black and white information that I can independently verify. That's what I'm into.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. Show me the data to back up whatever you're trying to say, and don't want to be swayed by whatever. So what is something that most people wouldn't know about you? Maybe it's a secret talent, it can be whatever, but something that most people wouldn't know about you.
Well, my roots, I was in Hollywood.
Oh, no way.
And now I tell some folks, that want to understand why I'm, I think a lot of people are really into media. Listen, everybody loves movies. Most people can name their favorite book. We all love music. To name somebody that doesn't like music.
Love music.
Right?
Love it.
So I'm into media too. And because at an early age, I was like, I want to be a part of this. I moved to Hollywood. I worked on film sets. Okay, so here we go. Here's what you're looking for. I was the prop master on Children of the Corn 666.
No way.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, that might be one of the cooler ones we've had. That is awesome.
It was crazy. It was actually really hard, and that was pretty much the end of my prop master career. I was like, this is hard. I had to find a way to help get a brand made so they could brand the actors. And I think the toughest shot, this was ridiculous. It was in the script, and it was cars driving down the road, dusty road, and the camera's going to zoom in on the driver and passenger, I think. And as the camera zooms in on the windshield, I think the camera is spinning. As it gets really close to the windshield, we're going to move into an extreme close-up of a grasshopper hitting the windshield.
Oh, my God.
And you know who has to make the grasshopper hitting the windshield happen? Prop guy. I'm like, what? I don't think we really got that shot.
I don't.
So far.
Everybody's going to go back and watch it and be like,
I don't even know. I tried everything. I was like, I got, what do you call those things where you put the rock in it and you shoot it at the windshield?
Oh my God. The little slingshot thing.
I tried slingshot. I had all these different methods of trying to get the bug to splatter, and it was terrible.
That's nuts, Matt.
I think I tried blowing a dead grasshopper with a straw. So anyways, yeah. Kids out there dreaming of being a prop master. Oh man.
There you go.
It's kind of like podcasting. You better be ready for crazy.
Expect the unexpected, that shit is going to break. Bottom line, it is going to break.
It's going to be tough.
You just got to roll with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Okay. So if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I would love to be as good a screenwriter as Quentin Tarantino. I'll just say it, right? That's a superpower. That guy has a superpower, and I'll take it.
I I love that one. That's a great twist on it. Oh,
That would be
I love it.
amazing. Wow.
That would, if yes, it would
Wow.
be. Well, Jay,
That'd be
thank you
amazing.
so much for being on the show. It's been such a pleasure having that show, learning more about auto logistics. And please do not cut corners on your shipping vehicles, or really anything these days. But just don't cut the corners. It's only going to hurt you. And with that, everyone, you all know the drill at this point. Find a way to serve today. Find a way to just help your fellow neighbor, your coworker, a friend, whatever it might be, whether it is opening a car door or just a simple smile. Just be the joy in someone's life today. And with that, everyone, we will see everybody next week.